Bitch, I'm a bird, bitch, I'm a bird. I don't say no, I just say, bitch, I'm a bird, bitch, I'm a bird. Bitch, I'm a bird, bitch, I'm a bird.
Breaking news, everybody. Caw, caw. Yo, we have some fresh lore that the Bungie dev team just posted an hour ago. Let's get into it and see exactly what's going on. They're not coming, Destiny dev team. Those words have finality when said aloud, an indirect farewell. Zavala can't quite see Ikora's expression in the muted reflection from his office window, but he can hear the disappointment in her voice. Beyond the glass, the city seems agnostic to the tempest of emotions. Ships soar through the night sky, lights glitter against the dark, the traveler looms silently. I know, is Zavala's belated reply. He watches as Ikora's reflection reaches toward him, but he's still surprised when he feels the weight of her hand against his shoulder. I wanted to commend them for their bravery, he says, confiding in her, but I prefer they be here to berate them for their foolishness. Ikora wordlessly squeezes Zavala's shoulder in response before standing beside him at the window. I remember when you and I felt invincible, when our ghost felt invincible, when we could lay the foundation for the future with our bare hands. But now, it's different. The list of names to memorize gets longer by the day, she says, watching debris slowly orbit the traveler. We've said goodbye to too many friends over the years. And who is left to join us now? Rasputin? To think that I welcome him in, Zavala says, turning his back to the window and the traveler, only to find out he betrayed the Iron Lords all those years ago. He looked across the datapads on his desk, jaw clenching. Are we that desperate that we're willing to accept mass murderers? He settles into his chair with a heavy sigh, lifting a hand to his forehead, eyes shut. Zavala. Ikora's voice is stern, but tempered with concern as she follows him to his desk, her fingers curled against her palms. Stronger together, remember? We aren't abandoning anyone now. The slight quaver in her voice belies her confidence. Most people wouldn't notice, but Zavala has known her for over a century. When their eyes meet, she sees an unvoiced burden on his face that would appear to anyone else as a merely stoic and unflinching expression. She sits on the corner of his desk, hands folded in her lap. You know they'd all be lost without you, she affirms. He doesn't answer, but she can tell he agrees. I would be lost without you. When Zavala starts to counter her argument, she continues over him, unrelenting. Out there, thousands of people look to us as a sign of hope. We need that. Everyone does. It feels like I'm lying to them. To everyone, Zavala interrupts. The darkness is here. We're facing the end of all things, and he closes his eyes. I feel helpless. You should feel helpless, Zavala, you little punk, but anyway. Ikora shakes her head and gives Zavala's shoulders another squeeze. Maybe we are. It seems a poor thing to say at first, but she continues. Even so, helpless doesn't mean hopeless. We forget that sometimes, and instead of embracing our faith in moments like this, we often turn against it out of fear and doubt. When I found my faith diminished, I exiled myself to Io. I questioned everything, including the traveler. She levels a knowing look at Zavala, who also recalls how that chapter of their lives ended. What has the traveler ever done for us? Zavala exclaims. His words strain through gritted teeth as he slaps his palm against his desk. Ikora gently lifts her hand from his shoulder and searches for her old friend's face. She understands the pain behind his words and recognizes the wave of anger in his eyes as it recedes. She rises from the corner of his desk, walking back to the window. I'm sorry, Zavala mumbles after the fact. It's all right, Ikora replies, gazing up at the tower hanging weightlessly over the city illuminated by its light. If nothing else, the traveler did one thing right by us. It takes a moment for Zavala to respond to her candor. And what was that? He asks, rising from his chair. Ikora watches Zavala's reflection in the glass, little more than a dim silhouette with glowing eyes. She smiles softly, and he can see a moment of peace and relief in her expression, a moment of faith, a moment of truth. It brought us together. Okay, so This isn't really an informational piece of lore that they dropped. They're kind of telling us just the mind state of Zavala and Ikora. We know that after the murder of Cade, they both really questioned themselves, really questioned the Vanguard. How are they gonna, support that role? And also, like a year before that, the Speaker died. The Speaker was basically like the ruler of the city, or who they would go to for advice, for help. So he's dead, and now Cade is dead. They're missing a member of the Vanguard, and they're the last two like high figures in the hierarchy of the last safe city on Earth, and they're folding under the pressure. Honestly, they're doing a shit job. They really are. Ikora is definitely really trying her best to keep the Warlock Order in check. All of her spies and birds are doing a great job feeding her information, but Zavala, like, he's giving up. We already got the piece of lore where he might be influenced by Savathun. I guess we'll find out in Europa, but it really seems like he's giving up hope and giving up on the Traveler. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but you need to do it for the right reasons, just like Drifter does. Drifter's like kind of not necessarily abandoning the Traveler, but taking power from the darkness in order to gain power to fight the creatures of the darkness and whatever the real threat is. Not only Savathun, there's other stuff that we're about to get slapped with, I feel like. But this was a nice little story. It really just says that they're folding under the pressure and they feel like they can't do anything about it. They really need some help. Good thing Eris Morn's out there in the streets getting shit done, because they're not doing anything on Earth, just cowering. But whatever. That's gonna be the news update for today. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I had a pretty fun time. It's pretty interesting. I'll definitely keep y'all updated as there's new lore developments, and keep an eye out for more videos. If you tuned into the stream last night on Facebook, we went over and read the Duress and Egress lore book, the latest lore book for Destiny 2, and kind of caught up on some of the story. So if you like the kind of content, please like and subscribe. Follow the bird everywhere. It's bird up everything. Oh, wrong side. Whoop. Bird up everything right here. Yeah. Caw-caw.